Jesus says in our reading today that their field is ripe for harvesting. And our reading from Romans talks about a hope that cannot be taken. There's a belief that cannot be stopped from spreading. A trust that is unshakable. This is what Jesus offers us. This is the good news of the gospel, especially in times of fear and panic. Not that we do not doubt, not that we do not have times of disbelief, not that we don't have times of distrust. It's that as followers of Jesus, there's always someone who has hope, who believes, who trusts, even if we can't on any given day. That's okay. Really, it is. True belief, true hope, true trust lead us to say, is the Lord among us or not, as our forebears did in the wilderness? Lead us to cry out that our hearts not be hardened, as the psalmist does. And leads the Samaritan woman to break the boundaries of cultural and societal expectations because of Jesus' invitation. There's this reckless abandon that Jesus calls us toward. This reckless abandon that is the hallmark of God's kingdom. It is reckless abandon that's grounded in hope, belief, and trust in God. It's being scared, but doing it anyways. It's being doubtful, but taking the risk anyways. It's being uncertain and worrisome, yet knowing that God's got this. Somehow, some way, God will provide. That's something this world desperately needs right now. Hope in time of despair, trust in time of fear, belief in times of uncertainty. I see a world that is ripe for harvesting. I see a world that thirsts. A world that thirsts for something to believe in. A world that thirsts for something to trust in. A world that thirsts for something to give them hope, when all we often find is despair. A world that thirsts for justice, peace, and love, when all we often see is me-first culture. A world that thirsts for compassion and mercy, when often we see exclusion, blaming, and hatred. When I was a kid, I used to play this video game called Mario. I would play with my younger sister fairly often. We made a good team. She was good at the low level of bad guys and getting past them. Then she'd hand the controller over to me for the big, bad, end of the level bad guy, like the big lion in like level 3, and I would get this feeling of victory that comes with defeating the level, and she would get the satisfaction of helping us to get there. I remember as a kid having to run track. We would sometimes do relay races, running our section of the track and passing the baton on to the next person. You had to get the timing just right. We would hear the telltale sign of the baton crashing to the track. My senior thesis project in college involved studying Geldy's monkeys for 60 hours at the zoo. For 60 hours, I watched their every movement and would write down what they were doing every minute. Well, the fascinating thing that I discovered is that even though these two monkeys were in captivity, they had everything they needed, they would still work cooperatively. Now imagine these same scenarios, but it was more like the Hatfields and McCoys, the Samaritans and the Jews. Groups that did not get along with one another. They hated and avoided one another, in fact. I don't know about you. When I try to imagine that, I keep it coming up with all the ways it ends in violence, or at the very least with the task never being accomplished. Yet today we have a story of a Jew, Jesus, and a Samaritan woman at the well, working together cooperatively, just like my sister and me, like my teammates on track and I, like those two Geldy's monkeys. This is not only unheard of in this time, but unfathomable, unimaginable. And yet, no boundaries stop God. The labor of loving, the labor of affirming and including, the labor of ending divisions, the labor of forgiveness is never ending in God's kingdom. In the gospel, Jesus says, I sent you to reap, after which you did not labor. Others have labored, but you have entered into their labor. Just like the Samaritan woman, the shepherds, the angels, Moses, the psalmist, Abraham, the disciples, the prophets, apostles, and martyrs are all part of a long line of witnesses that we have entered too. The seeds have been sown, and it is time that is ripe for harvesting. I see a world that thirsts, like Jesus thirsted at the well, like the Samaritan woman who thirsted to be seen, truly seen and loved. That's what these readings seem to be ultimately about, being seen. The Israelites were miserable, and they wanted to be seen, have their suffering noticed and alleviated. The psalmist cries out, wanting for their hurt and sorrow to be seen, to be noticed, to know that the pain is real and matters, but that it's not the end of their story. And finally, the Samaritan woman, who had gone so long as an invisible, forgotten person, but desperately wanting to be seen, to be acknowledged, not ostracized, she is seen by Jesus at high noon at a watering well. He knows her past, her present, and seeing her fully, she finds what she's always wanted, but didn't know how to ask for, to be loved and accepted. And she turns it around and sees Jesus. She sees Jesus for who he truly is, and shares it with others. She sees the world ripe for harvesting, and so she reaps. One of the ways I'm cultivating hope right now is I'm planning out my garden. One thing I've noticed with gardens is they need to be seen. They need to be seen to be harvested. Or the lovely, perfectly ripe veggies go to waste. Or like zucchini, they grow huge and do not taste good any longer. There's this care and attentiveness that's required. That's how the world is now. It may seem like Christianity is dying out, that there are less and less followers of Jesus. But what I see is a world ripe for harvesting. I see a world that thirsts for living water. But we need to show up and show them Jesus, as I used to always say about campus ministry events. I want you to know that I see each and every one of you. I notice the hurt and the joy. I notice the fear and the hope. I notice the trust and belief. I see the doubt. I see the worry. I see Jesus in each of you. I often see people, like Jesus saw the Samaritan people. He saw into the depths of her. I never forget the child I once saw, whose eyes showed more pain and anguish than any child should show. I remember wondering, why are your eyes so sad, my dear child? You were so young that your eyes show pain. The pain of many years, too much for a child of your age. What causes these tears to well up in your eyes yet never drained? I can see them with the sparkle of the sun, waiting to drip down your cheeks, so young and innocent. Why are your eyes so old, my dear child, wrinkled and tired, as if life has taken its toll? Eyes of an ancient one, who see terrible things pass. The kind of eyes one sees in a soldier who has seen more hurt than love, or than any person should ever see. No longer able to cry tears, pain is permanently fixed, like a shadow that never leaves you, even when the sun goes down, darkening the paths of all it crosses. Why are your eyes so tired, my dear child? They sag as if 100-ton weights hold them down. The stress of life of this world fills them with a kind of deep tiredness that refuses to fade away. It's not a tired that can be fixed with sleep. It's a different kind, a permanent kind. Why are your eyes so dark, my dear child? Lays over like clouds before a rainstorm that never comes, threatening to pour from the heavens, but holding in for some unknown reason. The eyes of someone who just found out their puppy died, or a long-term survivor of cancer who just found out their cancer is back. The eyes of someone after a funeral, but you never let your eyes change, never overcame the sadness. Deep inside you, your eyes never learned to smile again. Trapped with a painted sorrow, as if frozen in time, stuck in a sorrowful memory, only to be lived in each waking moment. Why are your eyes so distant, my dear child, staring off into space? 1,000 worries on your tongue, but you hold them deep inside like a deep secret. The tastes seeping deep into you, till it is all you taste. You stare as if you wait, waiting for someone to come, like a widow watches the door for her dead husband to return. You watch, but your eyes are too tired, my dear child, and the sadness is quickly glassing over the surface. Like lip gloss recently reapplied, you no longer sparkle when you laugh, my dear child, only growing darker, like the moon before a total eclipse. You've got seconds to go before total darkness takes over. 3, 2, 1. Have we lost you, my dear child? Sometimes our trust will run thin. We'll cry out, is the Lord with us or not? Because we thirst. And we're in a desert. And we thirst. And our hearts glazed over with fear will try to harden and to calcify. Sometimes our belief will be nothing but second-guessing and worries and questions. Sometimes we'll feel invisible like the woman at the well and the Israelites. Sometimes the barrier between will seem unbreakable and cooperation impossible. Sometimes the labor will be plentiful and the harvesters few. And yet, even when things seem dark and dreary, even when things seem cold and distant, even when things seem like they'll never happen in a million years, I think this Lent, our call is to see one another, follow Jesus with reckless abandon, to live cooperatively, to labor in the harvest. The world is thirsty. The world is ripe for harvesting. Will you join me in the harvest? Amen.